pin, and that will go open that direction. Should I show them that maybe? Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's open it so they see what they can look at when it's time to, say it's clogged or they want to sharpen it. Well, if you had a little hammer, you could knock this pin out, and this door will open up, and it will expose the cutter wheel and or the clog. If you accidentally clog it, it's not a problem. Shut the machine off, shut the belt off, shut it completely down. Do not open this ever. That cutter wheel doesn't care if it's your finger or an 8-inch log. It's taking whatever. So this pin comes out, this door pulls open, and it rests right here with the door open, and you can sharpen it if you had to, or unclog it if you had to. As far as maintenance goes, this is about maintenance free on the engine part of it, but over here daily, every 8 hours according to manufacturer, they want every 8 hours. This bearing right here and this bearing right here, those are the spindle bearings. This spindle bearing right here, this grease, now those are brand new. I just put both of them on. Those are both brand new bearings. That's why the tube, I had to extend it. It used to go in here, but I put my own tube on. It's supposed to be 3 to 4 pumps every 8 hours. Those two bearings right there. 3 to 4 pumps every 8 hours. Then, on the drive motor bearings, which are right here, that is supposed to get pumped every 20 hours. That bearing, and the same on the opposite side. There are 2 more. So 4 bearings here, 2 bearings there. That's it. That's it. This is a plastic guide. As it gets rusty, sometimes it gets stuck. This is made for lightweight motor oil or some bar oil. It will slide easier up and down. It will pinch better. The springs are pretty good right now, but say your spring gets weak or breaks, you can pull this pin, and if you notice there are 4 other holes. Say you're chipping something and you need more spring pressure, you can adjust this spring just by that pin and get more spring pressure. If your knives are sharp, I've never seen it need more than this. So at rest, there's slop, but you could always preload it if you really needed to, but all that's going to do is put more pressure on the bearings. It's going to put more pressure on the drive wheels, and it's just too much stuff you're not going to need. So
do a quick
motor oil,
repeat.
Motor oil on these 4 vertical slides. Check the springs to make sure they're not broken, so you're not pulling the branches in crooked. If that spring breaks and that one's good, the machine will start looking like, when you're looking in, you'll notice the machine leaning. These break, they're cheap, they break a lot. If you go to change knives, say you want to change knives, this is your cutter lock bar. So you will open the cutter inspection door, what they call it. You'll open the cutter inspection door, you'll roll the wheel around, and this lock will go right in the wheel. So that way you're not wrenching and the wheel slips and you cut your hand off because the knife's in there. So this lock maintains and locks the wheel, so you can take knives off, put knives on. Sometimes you take them off and sharpen them and put them right back. Use the lock every time you take every time you take the knives out. Don't think, oh, it's just a piece of cake, I'll be fine, because you'll end up like that. Again, second spring, here's the grease fitting on this side. 4, these are called feed rollers. 4 feed roller grease fittings, 2 spindle grease fittings. That's it, other than, normal hub bearings on your wheel bearings like a trailer, normal. But always the cutter lock goes in when you cut. Also, when I was telling you earlier, say you got to go in there and you got to see something that's stuck, and you've got your Bobcat. You pick it up with the Bobcat. This bar also goes through, you pick it up, that bar goes there and holds this up. So if you need to get in there and work, or your guys need to get in there and adjust the anvil, say they want a sharp side and they take the anvil out and turn it around, there are 4 sides on that brand new anvil. So you don't change that and sharpen it, you just rotate to a fresh side. use this so that you're under it safely.
Yeah.
I always want to pull the springs off because why lift extra pressure? The springs are going to slam down on you. So I take the pressure off with the spring removal. Then I pick it up with a bobcat, slide that spindle lock right there to hold it. You can get in there and not have to be afraid or hurt and somebody getting hurt. Always use that. Anything you're working on.
So do just a quick recap.
Okay, so starting of the day, first time you're coming to the job, you're going to flip the toggle and you're going to notice the battery will turn on, which means you have ignition power and the green light will turn on. At idle, throttle in is idle. Clockwise, idle. Start is up. And until the oil pressure gets warm, come around. After the engine warms up a little bit, at idle, only at idle, slowly engage the shut. Listen to the engine. The engine starts to log, and the machine is rotating. Something's stuck. Pull the clutch out, shut the machine off, let it stop completely. When you hear it working at an idle, go through the voice, it's rotating. I give it a minute to let the bearing get warmed up. In the summer, you don't have to. In the winter, you would like to let the bearing rotate a little. When that happens, always have the machine in neutral on the fuel. Right there, neutral, nothing rotating. Make sure there's no debris in there before you rev it up. Pull to you is branches in, push away, branches out, in the middle, neutral. The orange cable is a last chance cable. If anybody was to get sucked in, you yank that cable, it puts it in reverse, automatic. No rocks, no dirt, no gravel, no wet leaves, no wire, no really fibrous stuff. Palm is bad, palm is real bad.
No railroad ties.
Cattails, no railroad ties because they got spikes in them. Cattails are bad, they get stuck. They're not designed to cut, they're fibrous. They're not designed to cut. When you're done, let it idle. After the motor is at idle, take the clutch out. The clutch is out. Let the motor cool off. Put the oil temperature down. Shut off. Down is off. When you have the toggle off, the light is out and the gauge is on off. If I turn it on, the gauge goes up to 13 volts. Always make sure that's off or you'll kill the battery. In clockwise is idle, out, counterclockwise, full throttle. Please make sure you feel air blowing. It means there's no chips on the inside clog. This machine will blow the air out. All the hot air blows this way. So if it's a lot of cottonwood, and there's cotton, it will get stuck in there fiber-wise. Please verify that you have air blowing all the time. That's it. Chute is adjustable. The primary location, shooting into a truck, you'd like to have it at that angle, least amount of resistance. If you have to shoot it on the ground, you can by pulling this down, but every hole that you move it down, you might slow down the chipping so you do not clog it. If you clog it, if you have it that tight, it might restrict the flow. The flow is designed for the fan to shoot it way out. If you restrict it, it's fine. Cut the pieces smaller or have somebody running it, starting and stopping to let it clear.
Yeah.
More common to clog when you're on that angle. The safest, most efficient way to chip and be productive is that angle right there into a truck.
How about that twisting? Does that make any sense? Or
This?
Yeah.
That's only if you wanted to turn sideways and shoot the chips over here. You can loosen these bolts and slide it over to that direction. It's no problem. Generally, it's easier to turn the machine than it is to rotate it. The new machines now have a handle that they rotate with a chain. This one, you manually have to loosen that, take that bolt out, and you can spin it. But you can get a 3/4 wrench and adjust it to go sideways. Do not, in any circumstance, ever turn this all the way around, because you'll shoot logs at you, and maybe they're going over your head, but maybe they're not going over that guy back there. So never at any condition ever turn this around. Reposition your brush or reposition your chipper, however you have to. Never point this out the rear, because with anybody's bad luck, one piece of metal goes through and stops something, and there you are. No matter what, do not turn it around. Sideways, maybe off to, anywhere from like 300 degrees, but never out the rear. Accidents happen. Also, this thing shoots generally 60 feet. That projectile is going pretty quick, so at 60 feet, it's still going to tear paint off houses, and it'll tear paint off your trucks. So if you see the projectiles shooting, the speed is crazy. And a wet chip goes a lot faster than these dry chips.
Oh, really?
Wetter chip has more mass, so when you shoot it, it doesn't, like these were fluttering and slowing down. A wet chip is a rocket.
And can you just leave the?
Yeah.
You don't need it hooked up to a truck or a bobcat or anything?
No, you don't have to. Most of these that are longer have jack stands back here if you wanted to put jack stands down. Being that this is a 200 shorter machine, it's not designed for that. If you were to load this with a bobcat, then you would need a jack stand back here, because a bobcat would pick up a 1,000-pound limb and put it in, and it would tip up. But this machine is designed for hand loading. This is not designed for bobcat. However, if it's on a truck, sure, you could bring your bobcat up and put the branch in. But again, if you put a large, heavy one in, it'd be the best to have an operator on this side of the machine running the feed rate. This machine does not have auto feed. It is available. You could buy it and put it on if you had to. But it will take a 6-inch log 20 feet long and never be touched. Only when you're chipping 10 or 12 inch, you're going to start experiencing a little bit of bogging on the engine.
What's the maximum size log?
It's designed for 14 by 12. But if you need to chip 14-inch logs, this is probably not going to last you as long as it will if you run 6-inch wood all the time. But if you got a pine tree and you got a couple branches of it, by all means, please cut a 1 or 2. But if you've got trees routinely coming up here, you're going to burn up so much time doing this. It's really faster to just take a bobcat, load it in your dump trailer. But yes, if you're on a job and you only got 1 or 2 logs, absolutely you can cut 12 inches around. The problem is you'll need to make sure the knots are straight, because if you get a knot in there and you're over 12 and it turns, you're going to be pulling these springs off and lifting that device up to get it back out. So I would probably stick with 9 or 10 inches at the most. Otherwise, every limb has to be straight and narrow. You can't have any crooked ones. It's 12 straight on. But if the 12-inch log goes like this and goes like this, you're never going to get it through the machine. 12-inch, your pieces must be straight. 6-inch, it'll turn and curve and do what it wants, but it could strike you. That's why I was telling you, operator needs to be paying attention. Because if the limb's crooked anywhere, if you don't cut the straight limb and it's got this wiggle in it, that machine doesn't care that your hip's over here. It's going to swing at you.
So where is the safest? Where do you stand?
So as it's
that you
running,
can't get hit.
The operator can't get hit. Once you're here,
I see.
The operator can't get hit. Once the log enters the machine, if the operator wants to watch, he could be right here to watch, but he's at a little bit of risk. If it's straight branches with leaves on it, this is wonderful.
But what do you need to really watch for? Just
crooked logs with no branches.
But why would the guy standing here need to watch? I mean, you're going to hear it, right?
I would rather hear it, but I'm not strong enough. I mean, I'm not really strong enough to do it. So I stand here and do it like this. From
better
this
leverage,
area. But if I notice the branch crooked coming at me, I'll get out of the way. But this is the primary side for the operator to be. Over there, your hand hits the license plate, you'll break your fingers. This is made for this side. Generally, anybody gets used to it, they can hear the engine bogging down and they would know to stop it. This one probably doesn't bog on 90% of what you're going to be doing. You're not a tree company generally, so you're not chipping 12-inch wood all day. But you'll hear it and somebody will get used to it. And I would stay right here and be done running it so that you'd see there's room here. Over there, the license plate breaks your fingers. So this is the proper side. I would stand here. I would learn to get in the habit of cutting them 3 feet long and just setting them in, because then you don't need the operator. You know, if you're doing big wood, cut it. And another thing to be nice, since the cutter wheels are the feed reels are 6-inch diameter, if you cut a straight log and try to get it in, it doesn't really like to go in like that. So if you're going to chip bigger wood, cut the log on an angle, so the point rolls right in. Easier on the machine, easier on, it doesn't slam and hit you. Taper the edge like a chisel point. Start the edge in, much easier on the machine and much easier on your mind. Because when that thing decides to go in and it's square, you don't know if it's going to go this way or this way. You have no idea. But if you put a point on it, you absolutely control which way it safely goes in.
So how do you avoid trees that might have a spike in it, or
you cannot tell?
So
you'll know right away.
So what do you do?
You eat knives.
I see.
They're $60 each, $70 each. Those are brand new, so those you could flip around and put on the other side. But you could also have your mechanic pull them out and sharpen them. No problem. That's why I don't generally try to chip bigger logs. But I will tell you, if you look at the log and you see a funny knot in the middle of the log that doesn't make any sense, it probably swallowed something. You know, you've seen, I'm sure. People put a sign on their house with their address on it. 30 years later, the tree grew around it. You can see that wound. The tree will cover it, but you'll see a wound.
You have to run into that a lot, I imagine.
On the bigger log, my big chipper is 22 inches. I do on that. I've already bought knives 3 times, and I've only had it since. I bought that big one in February when I got this. So I bought that one in February, and I've already had $700 worth of knives in it because of accidental. People put cables between trees, and the cable rots off, but the tree swallowed it. I just did it yesterday. No, Saturday night. We had a big tree smash a house. They cabled it. The tree swallowed the cable. I put it in with my tractor that big. The chipper takes 22. I put it in that big, 50 feet long. I hear it, and then the chipper starts spitting out stringy chips. I had one knife completely ruined.
Did you just keep running?
No, I shut it off. And
you have to stop then?
Stopped. Oh, you can hear it.
Yeah.
I stopped, flipped it over, and went back to work. It took me half an hour. But
so when you have a damaged knife,
you'll hear the tone be different. Right now, you heard all 4 cutters smooth and equal. If you hear tick, 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 and all the others are equal, and you've got a bunch of chips that look good and one chip that's long and stringy, you've got a damaged knife. You'll be able to hear it mostly. It happens. But as far as overall, if you keep that dirt out of here and don't throw that dirt in, these knives will last you all year. If I didn't have accidental stuff, my knives would last me the whole year. I flip them over once or twice, sharpen them a little bit, but these are Bandit 200 XP knives, super common on the internet, $65 each. The Bandit dealer, of course, charges more, but you can get replacements, not Bandit product, but you can get replacements for $65. If you got a big project and it's not sharp, you'll save $100 an hour not fighting shitty brush. Another thing, these wheels won't work as hard if the machine's sharp, because these guys have to force the wood in. And if the wood is going against a dull knife, these are going to torque it much harder. But please, no rocks, no gravel, no metal, no electric wire. Anything that gets caught on that fan is going to slow it down, and when it slows the fan down, you get clogged chutes. So leaves, wet green leaves, no problem. Brown composting leaves, a handful here, a handful there. But if you throw a few in because you don't want to pick them up, and you throw a few handfuls, it'll be enough to saturate the machine and stop it.
And where is the fan?
The fan is connected to this wheel. It's on the wheel. The wheel is a disc, 3 inches wide, and on this particular machine, I think it's 40-inch diameter. On the wheel, there are 4 fan blades bolted to the wheel. So as the cutter cuts it, the fan blade catches it, wipes it, and as it wipes it, it goes into this area, and this is open, and the fan pushes air out that end. As the engine's running and the motor is turning this disc, you'll feel air coming out that end. Those big angle iron fan blades push the chips out. They don't actually smack it, they actually create a pressure, and the air pressure blows the chips out. The fan and the cutter wheel are all one assembly. Cutters are on this side, The fan is on the other side. As it cuts, the chips pass through the wheel, and they go from the cutter here through the wheel. There's a hole in the wheel. They go through the hole in the wheel, and then the fan hits it on the other side. The fan spins around and shoots. The fan is coming up, so all chips are entering that chute at maximum fan velocity if you keep it clean and clear.
Why are these bolts new, and do they get adjusted? Or
So you will not adjust these new. This is a brand new anvil because when I got the machine to my dealership, there had been wrapped in there with electric wire, and they crammed it full, and it wouldn't cut because the wire was in there. So the knives kept cutting wire after wire after wire, and then they became dull, and people kept feeding wood in here, and this whole compartment got packed with heavy wood because it was dull, so it was cutting dull, and it made that pack. Once it got packed, whoever was operating it didn't realize it, shut it off, tried to start it again, and just revved the engine to the top and kept trying to bounce the clutch in, but the clutch can't go in because the wheel is locked solid with chips. When I picked the machine up, it was frozen so long they let it sit inside for 4 days, and then they had to use a hammer drill to get the packed material out of there, a Hilti hammer drill. It was so packed. If chips aren't coming out and wood is going in, stop. Period. If you stop early enough, sometimes I've been able to shut the machine off, wait for it to stop, and I've sometimes stuck a broom in there and then started it back up, and it shoots out. So occasionally, if you put wet, leafy, say it's a rainstorm, and you're chipping cottonwood, cottonwood's very wet, very soft. So this chipper will eat a huge cottonwood. If you let a big piece go in there and it's wet, and it gets stuck, if your operator's paying attention, he can shut it off real quick. As long as the wheel's still rolling, take the clutch out, go over there, kill the engine, stick a broom in that end, free up those chips, start it back up, and if the chips shoot out, you're back to work.
So these bolts and adjustments are...
This is called the anvil. The anvil is this piece of steel where the knives come down and they come right up next to the anvil. So the anvil holds the log and the knives come along the log and cut that. This is brand new because the other stuff was wedged in there so hard, we bent this anvil and broke 2 of the bolts off. So now this new anvil is adjusted at the right gap for the proper chip size for hardwood trees. You can readjust this gap if you decided you're going to go do palm trees. You can adjust this, but currently with fresh knives, it's set where it needs to be. If you take the knives out and flip them over, this will be set where it needs to be. You do not need to move this until you sharpen 3 or 4 times, and the gap will get bigger. The thickness of the anvil to the cutter gap is this right here. That thickness is the distance from the cutter knife to the anvil. That's what these bolts adjust. You can move it back and forth, get it perfectly straight up and down so the gap is equal to that. Then you tighten those down, tighten those down. The anvil must be sharp or you're going to get stringy material. So no wire, no chain.
And this is where the belt is that we...
The belts are right here under this big guard. This is the power takeoff, PTO power takeoff. It's a clutch just like a normal tractor or a car or whatever, hay baler, whatever you have with a clutch. This is a hand clutch, slowly applied, not bouncing, not revving it up and jerking it in. It's designed, it's pulling a 450-pound wheel. So it's got to rotate that wheel. You just let it go slow, idle it. That motor will do it at an idle. You never rev it up. Why wear the clutch out? Let it do it at an idle. These 4 belts will bring that wheel up to speed. And after it's up to speed, snap the clutch into the run position. This is the get the belt moving position, slowly increase. When you feel it moving and you hear the air and the chips are moving, snap it in. It generally takes around 80 pounds to snap the clutch. Once it's over center and snapped, don't touch the clutch again. Rev the engine up, go do your chipping.
And to replace a belt, so the belt...
It was brand new for the month you had it. This is a brand new one now.
But when...
800 hours, but
so
you guys made 20.
Do they break?
No. They're 4 super serious composite belts. Company in Eastlake has them. JD Belts on Lost Nation has them in stock. That's the other ones I gave you. You still have a new one. I gave you one, but Bandit didn't know you had one.
Right.
They put another brand new one in, so you already have one good spare of theirs.
Right.
So
Okay.
add an idle in and add an idle out.
Yeah.
If you take the clutch out when it's wide open, that wheel's going to sit there and spin for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So you let the engine slow down, and the engine will slow the wheel down.
Right.
Then you take the clutch
Yeah.
out. Give it 5 minutes to cool off. That's the end of the game.
How frequently are you changing oil, air filters, and everything?
So they tell you to do 200 hours. Air filter would be nice to open that end and blow it out every week, especially if you're doing areas where there's a lot of
Dusty
milkweed
shit,
or cottonwood. That filter has a little snap-off deal there. Blow it out. Those little clips right there,
Right,
open,
yeah.
and that filter comes out the end.
Right.
Blow it out every other day if you can. 200 hours is what they say on oil changes. If you're in hot weather, you're probably going to do it more frequently than that. But
Gotcha.
these, your car is only under load 15% of the time to get you up to speed, and then it's cruise control. This particular machine is under load 80% of the time. So the carbon buildup in the oil is going to be a lot harder because it's lugging and working, whereas a normal automobile can make a lot further than that.
Right.
You know, so 200 hours is what they want, and that is a Caterpillar 3054. The tag is up there on the top of the engine. You should be able to read it. The data tag might also be up here if I remember right. The generator data tag is here. It is right here. Caterpillar 3054C, and at 1,050 RPMs, it's 80 horse. We're running it at 2,000, so it's 115. This was a 1,000 RPM generator. 1,000 RPMs, it made 480 volts. Now we turned it up because it's in this. I bought the whole assembly like that so I could get my own radiator and my own stuff. The engine was $8,000. This one was $5,000. I wasn't about to buy a Caterpillar one, you know.
Anything else?
No, I think we're
All right.
great. Everything's smooth.
You should be an instructor.